Thank you, whoever started the recording. Awesome. So good morning, everyone. Welcome back. I know we tried to do this a week ago, so apologies again for that. And thank you for bearing with us as we got the links sorted out. So this is a meeting of the Concord Middle School Building Committee. Today is Thursday, June 2nd, approximately 7:30 a.m. And I will call the meeting to order. I will call roll. Alexa Anderson.
Present.
Good morning, Court Booth.
Present.
Good morning, Court. Heather Bout.
Hello.
Hello, Frank Cannon.
Good morning.
Good morning, Justin Cameron.
Good morning.
Hi, Justin. You ready for the end of school?
Oh, what's coming up?
Justin's got the biggest smile. It's between him and Lori right now. Peter Fischelis.
Present.
Good morning. Don Goriello, I'm here. John Harris.
Here.
Hi, John. Russ Hughes.
Russ is on vacation.
Oh, good for him. Lori Hunter.
Here.
Good morning. Matt Johnson.
Here.
Good morning. Amanda Cohn.
Here.
Hi, Amanda. Carrie LaFleur. No Carrie today?
Carrie, I think, told me she couldn't come, but Gail's here and maybe Bob too.
Okay, she's at the bottom of the list, so I'll get to her in a moment. Pat Nelson, as I said, will not be joining us. She's on vacation. Chris Papa.
Here.
Hi, Chris. Charlie Parker.
Good morning.
Good morning, Matt Root.
Here.
Hi, Jared Stanton. Oh yeah, Jared. Is he?
Jared's gone. No, Jared's gone.
I meant to reach out to him. If you're still talking to him, Lori, or have his contacts and send him a hello and goodbye from me. I meant to reach out to him. I lost track of the days. Steven Staszewski.
Here.
Good morning, Stephen. And Gail Dowd.
Here.
Good morning. All right, everyone. Let's start this morning. We have a pile of meeting minutes to approve. We would like to get the design subcommittee meetings put forward so we can get those out on the website and for the public to see. We have March 17th, April 14th, and May 19th, all on the agenda. They were all in the packet, and wondering if folks have had a chance to review them. I looked at them before last week's meeting and prep for that meeting. I guess I would ask anyone on the design subcommittee. I need to remember who my voting members on that committee are. A second. Yeah, I know it's me.
So we've got you, me,
Court,
Lori, let's see.
Peter.
Peter, thank you. Yeah, I'm in my car, so I'm handicapped here.
Don, Court, Peter.
And
Who else
Chris,
votes on it?
I'm on it too, Charlie Parker. Bob and Charlie Parker.
Chris and Charlie. Okay. Thank you.
Dawn?
Yes, Court.
A couple of notes, very minor. I think the minutes are in good shape. The April minutes, just a typo, the word Eddy, E-D-D-Y, just to be precise. That was a typo. And
Yes.
then in the May minutes, at the end, it references a scheduled June 24 meeting. I think it might have been June 23rd. I don't know if the June 24 was ever on the book. I know it's inconsequential at this point, but just wanted to point it out.
Okay, for clarity. Right. And I think that meeting we talked about going to the greater committee because that was review with a cost estimate and we want that to be in front of the school committee.
Right.
Yep. But we shouldn't definitely not have the wrong date just for historic purposes. So thank you for pointing those out. So Hill, I assume you guys got those couple changes. Thank you, Court. Was there anyone else who had anything as far as changes go? No. Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve the design subcommittee meeting minutes from March 17th, April 14th, and May 19th collectively with the edits per Court just now. Would anyone on the design subcommittee like to make that motion?
So moved.
Thanks, Chris. All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Peter, any discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'll take a roll call of just the voting members of the design subcommittee. So Court Booth,
Yes.
thank you. Lori Hunter,
Yes.
Thank you. Peter Fashalis,
Yes.
Charlie Parker,
Yes.
and Chris Popoff.
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Great. All right. Excellent. The other meeting minutes we have April 28th from 2022, and that is the school building committee. That's this grader committee meeting minutes. Have folks had a chance to review, and does anyone have any edits? No? Would anyone like?
Dawn, I'm even
Yes.
struggling to find the packet.
Oh, Ian
I-
sent it out ahead of yesterday's meeting and today. Have you?
Maybe I'm not getting these.
Oh, weird. All right, let me see. It's to the MSBC at Concord PS here. I'm gonna forward it to you right now, Matt. Here you go. Who runs that, by the way? Can we make sure that it's updated? I know we've had a few changes in membership as far as, and Matt's not new, but.
I'm not one of them.
And in the past, I have admittedly, you, Alexa, and there was someone else, Peter Pashalis, I think, and Steve, now that we have you, like, I've always doubled up on you guys, worried that you weren't on that original email. So Lori, I don't know if that's Erin or who runs that email list.
Yeah, the MSBC one would be my office, so we'll
Any
double
chance
back.
you could have her check against the list just to make sure it's current? And like Peter Fashalis, did you receive Ian's email yesterday?
Yep.
Oh, you did. Okay, Alexa, did you? Yes. I wonder if Matt, if somehow your email is not correct. Did you just get my email, Matt? Are you in front of?
I just got it,
your
yeah.
email? Okay, that's the link to, just so everyone knows, that was the link to today's packet, as well as the design development drawings and specs. So there's two
The
links
interesting
there.
thing is I got the agenda. So I got the agenda and notice and the reminders there, but
Okay.
not
Not the packet info. Do you want us to wait then? Do you want to?
No, don't
review?
wait for me. I think I
Okay.
even missed that last meeting. So-
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Matt and I were not at the 28th
Right.
meeting, so.
So
Oh.
don't worry about me.
Okay. All right then.
I'm just
Does-
worried about not having the packet.
Yeah,
That's-
no, please look through that and we'll ask Erin to double check through Lori, just to make sure you're correctly listed and spelled accurately. Okay, so back to the meeting minutes. Any motions to approve since I don't see any edits?
So moved.
Thank you, Matt. And that was for April 28th of the building committee.
Correct. Yes.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second,
Thank you, Heather. All right, I will call for just the voting members. Alexa Anderson,
Yep, sounds good.
thank you. Court Booth,
Yes.
thank you. Heather Bout,
yes.
thank you. Frank Cannon. Frank, yes.
He
on
looks
the-
like a yes.
Yes, okay, I see his mouth moving. Who's next up? Peter Fashalis.
I'm abstaining because I was not there.
Abstaining. Thank you very much. Dawn, I'm a yes. Who else voted? Lori Hunter.
Yes.
Thank you. Matt Johnson.
Sorry, I'm gonna set aside on this one since I
Yep,
wasn't there and
abstain.
didn't get 30 minutes.
Mhm, understood. Pat Nelson's not here. Chris Popoff.
Yes.
Thank you. Charlie Parker.
Yes.
Thank you. Matt Root. Did we lose Matt? No,
Sorry.
it's here.
Yes.
Oh, there you are. Thank you. And Steve.
Yes.
Thank you, Steve. All right, very good. So we got through those agenda items. All right, we are at OPM update. So Ian, I'm going to turn over to you for your update.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you all for getting minutes through this week and getting us caught up here. So I am going to share my screen and go through the OPM updates. So I've got a few things to cover this morning: the commissioning agent selection, the schedule update, project org chart, just as a refresher, and the cash flow update. So these things are all in the packet. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to review, but I'll walk you through each one here. So as you know, we were seeking a commissioning agent for the project. We sent out an RFP and got 6 firms that provided proposals. AKF Group and SGH was one firm. CES was another. Colliers was another. FST or Horizon was another, and then Harris Energy Solutions and Blink Energy Solutions teamed up, and then RW Sullivan. So we had a good response. We went through a proposal review process. We were able to shortlist. The committee shortlisted 3 firms. So we ended up interviewing AKF, CES, and sorry, not CES, Colliers and Horizon were the 3 firms that we interviewed. The interviews went really well. We were able to clarify a few things and get some better information, better feel for their team and their approach to the commissioning process. And then we essentially scored each one of the firms at that point, and made a decision and made a recommendation to Carrie LaFleur's office. So we thought all things considered, AKF Group and SGH were the most advantageous, the best fit for the middle school project. They had a lot of relevant experience and put together a really nice team for this project. So we made a recommendation, and Carrie accepted that recommendation. So we're currently in the process of executing the contract with them. It's going to be a lump sum contract in the amount of $158,310, and it's well within our budget. We had a budget of $280,000 for commissioning. We do have other commissioning type services that we need to buy out of that budget, mainly just the whole building air leakage testing. But otherwise, we're in good shape from a commissioning standpoint. So we'll get them onboarded. We'll get them looking at the design development set that just came out and provide comments on that. And we'll have a kickoff meeting as well. So that's kind of the long and short version of the commissioning update. You guys have any questions or?
You mentioned that you did not work with AKF Group in the past. I've worked with AKF Group in the past, and I find them extremely adequate.
Oh, okay, good. That's great. Good to know.
I've had similar experience as well.
Yeah, we've worked with SGH on the building envelope commissioning, just haven't done business with AKF. So, but obviously all their references checked out. All right, so I'll move on to the schedule update. As you know, we went through a scheduling exercise just to validate the construction portion of the schedule with a local contractor. And just to speak on that a little more, we did go back and double check with the Attorney General's office to clear involvement from a local contractor. They did not have an issue with it. There was no conflict of interest. So just kind of clearing that up was good. We thought that was the case. That's why we engaged someone, but to get an official response from the AG's office was really good there. So essentially, we had them look at the construction portion of the schedule, kind of dig into what we had available at the time, which was the schematic design set, and get a preview of the project and understanding of the job so that we could validate some assumptions here. So the end result of that, and I guess I can start from the beginning here and walk you through, but as you know, we've got 2 phases. We've got phase 1, which is the new school design and construction. And then we've got the phase 2, which is the Sanborn, the existing building demo, and the new fields. And we've made it through feasibility, schematic, made it through the town process, all the votes. So we are here in design development and pressing forward with design. So we'll move on to 60%, 90%, 100% design throughout the rest of this year and spilling a little bit into 2023. We will start a pre-qual process this fall, and then we'll put out the bid package in the spring and make an award to GC and subs in the spring, and then we'll get started with construction thereafter. So we're projecting May 2023 as the construction start. We did validate that the assumptions that we had were good. 20 months is what we were carrying for construction. So that's what we feel comfortable with at this point, carrying for construction. We did change some of the logic here for punch list and move in. So we were carrying some different assumptions here, and essentially we wanted to bring back the target move in date and try to get the kids into the school earlier. So what we're doing now is targeting the February break for move in and kind of shortening that window, get everything prepped and ready to go, and then get the staff and everyone into the building that week of February break. And there'll be some punch list activities that kind of spill out thereafter, but that's something that we can certainly coordinate. We've done it on many other jobs where we're doing punch list in an occupied building, so it's not a huge deal. But essentially that would have the school opening February 24th, getting everybody in earlier so that we could start demo the existing facility earlier before we had it in April. Now we're pulling back to February, which is a good thing. And we have 7 months plugged for the duration for the abatement demo and the new fields, which takes you through September of 2025, and a punch list and closeout process thereafter. The contractor will demobilize from the site, shortly after the fields are done, somewhere along the punch list. And then we again need some growing seasons for the fields. So those won't be ready until September 2026 is the projection. So it's kind of a refresher on schedule. Not too much has changed, but we did want to show some improvements, some differences in logic here, and try and pull back the move-in date. Any comments or questions?
Quickly, can I jump in? Sorry, I couldn't get to the raised hand. Here's my hand. First, that's awesome that we're looking at going in earlier. That's really exciting. And I'm sorry if I missed what you in the explanation of how we got there, but what's the core reason? Like, what's the major driving force that allows us to go in earlier? Is it just that we're moving more quickly in general, or was there something?
So I think before what we were assuming is that we weren't going to move in until after the punch list was done. So
okay, got it.
We can, we talked to Lori, kind of changed the logic and said, okay, let's get everybody in earlier.
Awesome. Thanks. I was just curious
Yep.
how that was possible to happen. Thanks.
Yep. Amanda?
Ian, I know that you all had shared the original timeline with SDA so that the solar piece was also in alignment. Just have you sent this new one over to them? And if you haven't, would you mind just forwarding it to them? Or
yeah, not a problem. I have not, so that's a good reminder to send that over to them.
Thank you.
Don?
I think, if I'm remembering correctly, and we've been on this a long time, I think you guys, this was the original schedule we were planning on, or close to it. There were a lot of questions from the public questioning if we were accurate. There was like a buffer put into it, and then you basically gut checked it with the contractor that brought us back to where we were. Am I remembering this correctly?
Yeah, I mean, that's
Okay, so just so everyone knows, this was sort of in and about what we were proposing originally, we as in the designers and the professionals, the OPM and SMMA. And then there were a lot of pushback from everyone saying, it's too fast, it's too quick, you can't possibly build a building in whatever, 20 months. And so I think there was some buffer put into it out of concern, just saying, well, you know, everyone's questioning it. And this was really a gut check by Hill to see if, you know, what we were showing with the little bit of buffer was actually realistic. And they came back and said, no, I think you can actually do it in 20, which was what we originally were shown. So just so everyone knows, this was kind of back to where we started. So it's not necessarily earlier, it's earlier than what was shared most recently, but definitely in line with what was originally proposed.
All right, if we're good there, I'll move on to the org chart. So this is just something that we put together on every project, and just to show the relationships between all the various parties, the committee, and whatnot. So tried to lay this out as simply as possible here. So, you know, essentially this is a Town of Concord project. We have the school building committee here, and everybody listed, and we've denoted the subcommittees with number designations. So hopefully this is all correct. If you have any feedback, please let me know and we can get that updated, especially some of the committees that have been moving around a bit with membership. We just want to make sure we get that accurate. And then we have Hill as the OPM, an extension of the town, you know, looking after the town's interests on the job. And we've got our organization here with Peter as the principal, myself as the project director. We will be bringing on a senior project manager here in the near future. We've got Sue McCann as the APM. We'll have Vin Miller as a site manager who will come on during construction. He'll be on site, full-time on-site presence during construction. And then John Cutler as the project coordinator, who you know. We have an accountant that does invoicing and things in the background. We do have a scheduler, Mark McDowell, that we intend to engage as well on the project. And he does more of the intensive schedule reviews when the contractor puts together schedules and schedule updates during construction. So we'll get him engaged in that process. And then we've, as a sub, we have PM&C as our cost estimator. And then we've got other professionals here as well, and some of this is future. So you've got the general contractor, TBD, commissioning agent. We didn't plug this in yet, but we'll put AKF and SGH and their team in here, and all those contracts are direct with the Town of Concord. And then SMMA as the designer, as you know, and all of their team and sub-consultants. You've got Lorraine as the principal, Jen Susi as the project architect, Matt Rice as the architect and accessibility guru, Phil on the educational programming, and Keith on the educational programming side, and obviously a very large team behind all of this, as well as all the specialty and sub consultants here for SMMA. So we didn't list out every single person here, but we just wanted to get all of the various groups that are involved in the job. So just a good refresher of all the effort and team that goes into a project of this magnitude. So again, if you guys have any comments or feedback on this, love to hear it, or send me an email, please.
Yeah, I have a question regarding your earlier part of your update. I mean, looking at our charge or in the section relating to the town manager, it says that, we as a committee are supposed to weigh in, I think, on any schedule change, to make the recommendation. I'm just wondering, relative to our charge, whether we should be doing something if the schedule changes. I think that the assumption is mainly the schedule getting pushed out, but I just, I'm curious about that. I'm also curious about the commissioning agent selection. Again, looking at our charge, it's not that clear, but the town manager, of course, is responsible for signing any of the contracts, but were we supposed to, as a committee, make the recommendation to the town manager, for this commissioning agent? It seems like that's a done deal, but again, I'm just trying to understand what is the committee's authority versus different, professionals working on the project in these cases.
Yeah. You want me to try and take that, Dawn, or do you guys want to speak to that?
I don't have an answer to that. I asked the same question, actually. I wasn't sure. I've never, just so everyone knows, 99% of my projects are MSBA projects, and the MSBA hires the commissioning agent. So this is new to me, this process. And my understanding is that the town manager's office was handling with Hill, obviously. With
I think on the commissioning agent case, I didn't see any language that related to that specifically. I think when it comes to the hiring the general contractor, we need to take a vote on that. That seems clear. But I think for something like the commissioning agent, it doesn't seem that clear, but there is specific language around schedule changes.
Yeah, I mean, as far as schedule changes go, I would typically defer to the professionals, and if it related to a major change where we had to, like when we had to stop and restart or something that might affect putting the documents out there, but as it relates to the construction timeline, that's where I would turn to our professionals and rely on their expertise. And so I don't know if we need to do anything.
Yeah.
Okay, it just says recommend approval all schedule.
So I don't know. This is where I'm out of my element because I actually don't know.
Okay. It just says recommend approval of all changes to schedule and cost to the town manager. Again, I think if we had a cost estimate change, we would be needing to act upon that as well. That would seem pretty clear too.
I mean, if folks feel like we need to do something, I would suggest.
Again, I think in this case that when the schedule's being pulled in, and it's still an estimate, I don't think it's that material, but I am really raising this more from a point of view of, hey, what are we doing here as a committee and going forward as we're likely to face these kinds of issues? What is the decision-making process?
How about I ask town council to weigh in, just so we're following the right procedure? I actually have no idea.
Yeah, so just to weigh in a little bit here, I would think that, we work with the town or the municipality on what that particular town or municipality wants to do in these cases. It sounds like you guys have written into your charge that schedule changes would be reviewed and recommended by this committee. So I think that being the case, it's probably worth doing for any big schedule update, right? On the commissioning agent front, again, I've seen it done both ways where, we make a recommendation or Hill makes a recommendation either to the town or to the committee, and then either the town manager takes it and runs with it, or the committee reviews it and validates that recommendation. So the feedback that we were getting here for this particular job is that, they wanted us to make a recommendation to Carrie to run with that process. So that's what we were proceeding with in this case.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Next item here is just the cash flow. And this is updated through May 31st of this year. So there were a few invoices that were pushed through from SMMA and Hill. And that's the total here, 436, which brings the billings up to 2.4 million to date for services, for professional services through May. And then here's the cash flow, the total project cash flow update. So tracking right along the projected expenditures here.
Great. Anyone have any questions? I want to move things along just because I think I want to try and get to public comment by 8:45 so we can be sure to leave time for that. And I also noticed that communications and new business were left off the agenda. So I want to just at the end mention a couple things that have come through. So. All right. Any questions on cash flow, where we are, expenditures? No? Okay. Is that everything, Ian, from an OPM standpoint?
No, that's all I had. We can switch up design presentation. Thank you.
All right, great. Yeah, you're welcome. All right, Lorraine's not with us today. Is Jen here?
Yep. Yep, I'm here.
Hi, Jen. Does
Hi.
everyone know who you are? Have you?
No, so I was
the
just
bigger
going to
group?
take a quick second to introduce
Please.
myself. Good morning, everyone. Jennifer Susi. I'm with SMMA. I'll be the project architect. I hopped on the project at the beginning of design development, so I'll be seeing the project through to the end. So I will, from here, I've had a conflict every Thursday, so that's why I haven't been able to attend these meetings. I have another conflicting committee meeting, so, but I'll try to join as much as I can moving forward. I'll pass it off, I think, to Keith and Bill. Do you guys want to? Are you guys able to share the presentation?
Yeah, thank you. So Bill will share his screen and our presentation. We're glad to be with all of you this morning for our final design presentation in the design development phase. As you heard from Ian's schedule overview, the project is currently being cost estimated. The design presentation we will share with you today, we have shared with the design subcommittee 2 weeks ago, and it reflects the information that's integral to the cost estimating exercise. We understand the schedule for today's meeting. We'll try to work through this. We will work through this in a timely way and leave time for the business at the end of the meeting. I want to say that it's a comprehensive update, and by that I mean that we are including within this presentation certain exhibits that we have previously shown to you. We don't need to spend a lot of time on them, but it's still, we want to just kind of keep some of those primary key decisions at the forefront, so everybody follows the kind of process for how they hang true and get integrated and refined and developed as the project moves forward. We can go to the next slide, please, Bill. So again, the project goals, everybody understands and recognizes these: one school, 700 students, team teaching model, net zero energy. We can go to the next. simultaneously very important to address social and emotional needs of the early adolescent, make a connection to the landscape, the history of Concord, and wise use of resources. Next. Again, the site planning, this should be familiar to everybody, the location of the existing school. And, this project is, the logistics of it are very important in that the new building will be constructed while the existing building is occupied. And so that drove early site analysis that impacted building location and site circulation, field location. We'll go to the next slide, please. So this is the site plan that everybody should be familiar with, locates the building at the southeast corner of the site, ideal solar orientation, north and south facing facades, very compact vehicular circulation in the southwest corner, and playing fields arrayed kind of from the center of the site toward the northeast. I'm sorry, the parking is in the southwest. I think I said that. So the other thing that's important about this site location is that it occupies kind of a fall in the site, and we're capitalizing on that. You'll see a little bit more of that in the plans and sections. And we're trying to minimize disruption of the existing tree line, nestle the building and particularly the outdoor learning areas into that. And we'll just work our way through our plans, the general massing of the building material selection, and some of the interior vignettes. So with that, I'll hand it to Bill Smarzewski.
Good morning, everyone. So this is zooming in at that ground floor. So we're coming off of the site, the bus drop off to the north here, and you'll come through into the main entry. And this is the lobby area. I don't think we need to spend too much time, but I'll just kind of give a big overview. So towards the east, we see the classroom wing, we're beginning to call it now, with 3 teams, and then each grade is on one level, and each grade consists of 1 team. You'll see some fine grained changes in the media center that's immediately across from the entry, and just kind of reconciling the geometry and integrating some retaining walls as we meet the site to help some of the grading as we fall to the south. In the light blue color, we see the dining space for the cafeteria and the servery and kitchen adjacent to that. North of that, in this darker orange color, is the auditorium with the stage and proscenium on the west end. The music classrooms on the north, and then the gymnasium with the locker rooms accessed directly off of there. It's a simple layout that has this nice kind of meandering circulation through that we've been showing consistent to date, and creating these kind of pockets of spaces with the circulation against that. Moving up a level, we have that same team configuration. Some of the specialty classrooms change here, and then a world language and art suite, so to speak, above the administration and the media center here, with that stair that tracks down to the level below. You're also seeing a double height space in the lobby with a connection point across there as well. Moving down to the lowest level is that's familiar team layout, the 4 classrooms on a team, and then again, some changes in the corners. So just with that orientation, I can hand it over to Saul, and we can begin to talk about the exterior.
Thanks, Bill. So the image that you've seen before of the elevation is beginning to get materialized, and we are working right now with 3 brick manufacturers to make sure that we have equal sort of in the spec. We will be creating mock-ups with the final ones and for everyone's review. We're also working with, in relationship to the brick, we also have to coordinate other materials like the wood look elements and the CMU. So we are trying to right now make sure that all of these elements are sort of coordinated, even though we have multiple people sort of on the spec. The patterns that you're seeing here are incorporated into the design. The darker gray area is going to be slightly striated, just because of the sort of the extent of the area. We need to have some level of detail. And we have three colors of exterior material. We have the brick, we have the smooth face CMU darker, and we have a smooth face CMU lighter. And we have at the retaining walls, we have right now concrete with a form liner pattern. Next image. The elevation, as you can remember, includes a series of colored panels that are textured or with horizontal grain, framed with a darker gray brick. And in the back here, in the back of the sort of the walls of the auditorium and the gym, we have a lighter gray CMU. The back of the building follows the same logic, with the classrooms being the textured brick, the colored brick, and being framed by the gray CMU, with the bridge being a wood look panel. Also in the south side, I shouldn't be calling it the back of the building, the woodland side, we have horizontal sunshades to alleviate the direct heat gain along the south elevation. Next image. So these are the end elevations that we haven't shared with you before. This is on the east side, where we actually, it's a wonderful situation where we don't have any windows on the east or west side because those are the worst areas for heat gain. So on the west side, we have the gym, and on the east side, we have the end of the classroom building. But these are new drawings in the bottom. They're showing the relationship of the landscape to the building under the bridge. And it's really kind of a wonderful sort of a configuration where as somebody walks into the side of the entry, they can also choose to go under the bridge and with this landscape that's cascading down. On the right side image on the south side, you're also seeing the cafeteria patio and its sort of descent into that sort of lower topography. I mean, it's a really amazing thing that to have this wooded edge that kids can discover through this passage around the building. Next image. These are sections through the auditorium, the gym, and the classroom block. Next image for that. So here you're seeing the front side of the building. I have to say that the bus parking is not updated, and we haven't had a chance to do that. We will. And you're seeing here the classroom building with a simple expression of windows. Again, the wood look at the bridge, and you're also seeing here the open area under the bridge and into the wooded area. Next image. Now this side you haven't seen before. What we're showing is a series of these outdoor classrooms to the east, south of the building, and they open up towards the building, but they are also nestled in the woods. So the classroom spaces will be sort of beautifully located. The children will be looking into the woods rather than into the building. And you're also seeing here the cafeteria patio with another sort of cascading landscape that brings you down and allows a full connectivity between all these exterior landscape conditions. And imagine the sort of actual joy of being in a landscape like that. Next image. And by the so this is the front of the building with a canopy. And next image. And again, you're seeing here the stair, the classroom block, and the main entry canopy with the sort of descent down under the bridge. Next image. This is a view of the area sort of tucking under the building. You're seeing here on the right side the concrete, and the intention is to have cables on it that will allow for vegetation to grow on it. The concrete will have a form liner and that will soften its image. And next. You're also seeing here the end condition of the gym as it sort of ends the building. Again, we have a series of a series of these brick and CMU elements coming together. On the right side, you're seeing the wall that screens the mechanical area. Next image. So this is the one of the outdoor classrooms. You probably will have more trees around it, but we sort of simplify the image so you can see the set of relationships. So these classrooms would be, there would be 3 of them, but across you're seeing the cafeteria sort of patio right here up on top, and it's sort of cascade down and into a ramp that leads you again to the larger open area below. Next image. So these are the sort of the new, so the full image of the building with all of its sort of wraparound envelope. Next image. For the interior of the building, as we already mentioned, we're taking some of the ideas of the landscape into the design of the building in a very abstract way, but in a simple way. The idea of the stream, it's meandering with its eddy spaces that will allow the students a sense of choice in terms of location. We're also thinking about the forest edge, about the way that we end the building and have it open to the landscape itself. Next image. And all of that is in a way a tribute to Thoreau and his sense of place and dedication to the natural elements. Next image. Bill, sorry. Bill, do you want to?
Is there a delay?
No, go ahead.
Which slide are you seeing?
With the case studies, with the
technical performance at the top, Bill. That's
Okay.
what we're looking at.
All right. Are you seeing slide 23 now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so unfortunately, our interior designer Sarah Long with SMMA cannot make this meeting, but we're beginning to look at the palette and we're working with the educators to kind of tease out the specifics of this, but we're pulling from the similar themes on the exterior to bring in some warm kind of earthy tones and then pops of color. So we're really trying to make this an exciting interior space that is full of color, but done so in a way that isn't, it won't be dated. So the kind of hard materials, flooring, ceilings will be generally simple colors, but then we can introduce a pop of color through paints and things like that, so that it doesn't feel sterile and kind of institutional. It feels like a vibrant place that is exciting to be in. We've seen the similar image to this slide, but we're really pulling through and looking at the specifics of which color linoleums and generating a full palette together, and then working with the school as far as maintenance and durability. And you're seeing some vignettes of some of the ceiling elements that are introduced, which we can get into. And again, pulling from neutrals and wood tones in some of the hard materials, that so they don't they're not dated long term.
So some of the ideas that Bill discussed are being sort of shown here. This is the lobby, and you can see how the bridge opens up to the landscape beyond. On the floor, per suggestions from the design committee, we're beginning to incorporate segments of the Concord River. And what we're doing here, we are beginning to show it in different scales in 3 different locations, and begin to incorporate into it some learning ideas. For instance, the idea of scale here. These markers are beginning to speak about the lengths, and the 3 segments of the Concord River that we're showing will be in completely different sort of scales. One would be almost at the scale of the pebbles and the river and the trees. One would be at a middle scale like you're seeing here, and one would be much larger scale that shows a larger stretch of the river, possibly from beginning to sort of to the way it ends and by the shore. You're seeing here the partitions on the left. There are ways to display artwork and turning that area into a display area, but you're also seeing the sort of intervention of colors in the furniture in a more in a more sort of a simple way that activates the space itself. Next image. Just different views. And the color, some of the colors we are introducing, like the light blue, are very soft. Next image. This is a view above of that sort of river segment of the Concord River. Again, showing ways of incorporating scale into sort of the learning about the river. Next image. The eddy spaces that are being formed as an option for the students to actually be able to speak to a friend and sort of segue out of the larger sort of flow of people. Next. Now we're walking into the area for the media center. We're trying to incorporate as much transparency into it, because as you come in from the main vestibule, you'll look right into the media center and into the woods beyond. So that moment of transparency is quite wonderful. Display cases are incorporated into the media center wall. Next image. We're moving further. We're looking into the area of the cafeteria with the stair that leads to the art classes and the language classes. And the notion of incorporating some seating zones, sort of casual seating zones. And here you're seeing these kind of wood steps forming the final landing. And as they wrap around, they're also sort of creating another sitting area, those eddies that we spoke about, and incorporating ADA sort of positioning also into the design itself. Next image. A closer look. Further from the sort of seating steps are booths for the cafeteria. And again, trying to create a variety of seating situations and positions and options for the students. Next image. This is a view from the cafeteria looking out into the woods. And you can see here that there's sort of the technique of breaking down the spaces and creating a cafeteria that's not made out of an oversized kind of frightening place to sit down in. At the edge, next image will be at the edge of the cafeteria. Again, that sort of gesture of moving up into the woods. Next image. At the media center, some similar strategies of creating ceilings that break down the space a bit. All the shelving in the center of the building is flexible and movable. The shelving at the end on the left side is obviously fixed. Next image. Bill?
So moving into the auditorium, we have not visualized this to this manner to date, but we're trying to pull in the similar themes of that connection to the kind of natural elements, kind of gesture up, and the folding nature that is in the geometry of the rest of the building, and then bring that in here with a fairly simple move to take these planes that are folded and articulated, and done so to help amplify the sound of the space and bounce sound around in the room effectively, and then really draw your attention with a warm wood tone against the proscenium being the main feature of the space. And then the ceiling and the walls are all sculpted to allow for the optimal sound performance in here. In the next image here, we're looking back from the stage out to the audience, and you're seeing an acoustic panel at the back wall, and then the introduction of color through the seating. And right now we're showing this kind of warm red color, and it's a very kind of classic and simple palette that is colorful but not overwhelming in a space that really wants to be about the performance, but then welcoming and inviting at the same time.
At the gym, again, we're trying to use some of the simple elements, for instance, the sound attenuation panels, as a way of sort of bringing interest to the space. And in here, we also chose to kind of color the structure, the trusses, in a way that it begins to create a sort of an interesting ceiling that comes down and wraps with these sound attenuation panels. The same thing is happening on the other side of the gym. Next image. Bill?
Yeah, and so we've seen the team comments like this before, and we continue to advance this as we move through. So the previous image was at the 6th grade, where we had the introduction of lockers, and then at this level, the 7th and 8th, we don't have lockers for those students, with the understanding that they'll be carrying their items throughout the day, or positioned in their home base classroom. So this millwork element creates a work counter and a usable surface with a sink that can be a project touch point for the whole team. And then this is what that looks like as you move into the classroom looking out. You see the lockers at the 6th grade at this point, and then that becomes just general storage and seating at the 7th and 8th grade, with the introduction of this image is a little outdated. We've continued some of the thought around these kind of millwork screens that help create privacy within the team, but not totally closing that off from the connection of the whole circulation. Again, creating one of those eddy spaces, but integrating some kind of open storage elements so that this area can be a vibrant learning space. Moving into the classroom, again, you're seeing the team comments through the folded wall. We want to work with color in here, and this is probably not finalized as far as the application of color, but creating some moments of bold color so that it's a fun and attractive space. And then again, given the site and the location of the project, it almost just wants to all be about the exterior. So you're seeing the introduction of this is a south class facing the forest, and that kind of team commons, treetop teams scheme kind of coming to fruition.
So Bill, just before we conclude, I wonder if you could go back to slide 43 for me just for a second. I want to just mention that we recognize that in our last meeting with this committee, I think it was Peter Fishalis who offered a comment and a concern about the lockers and the ability for students to get into them. We had a similar conversation with the educational team. We are working to resolve that, introduce a little more accessibility to the lockers, as well as improve the utility of this area, integrating a more kind of functional teaching surface within there, as well as some storage. we're advancing those, I want to say in the background, but we just want to follow the design process that has been established where we can take those design advancements, share them with the educational team, and then the design subcommittee, and then back to the building committee. That's an ongoing activity. We will capture that within the design development phase and address that, and we'll do that within the parameters of the cost model. So I just wanted to communicate that we hear that as an open comment. This exercise is not complete, and that's on our agenda prior to closing the design development phase with you. So with that concludes our design presentation. Dawn, I don't know if you want to open it to questions or move on to other items, but we appreciate the opportunity to share this progress with you.
This is great. Thank you for that presentation. The design subcommittee saw this a couple of weeks ago and not a lot of comments as far as questions, but lots of accolades. So I think I will echo that here and saying, great job. I think you're capturing the essence of Concord and the values and, you know, the importance of natural resources nicely. So well done to the design team. Does anyone have any questions? Anything they want to say? Feel free to raise your virtual hand because we're still sharing, so I might have a hard time seeing a physical hand. I see Carlin Reed's hand up, but we're not at public comment yet, so I will defer until then. Carlin, I appreciate that you have something to say. I will definitely call on you during public comment. Matt Johnson.
Hi, I was hoping someone else would want to go first. Like, Heather, go ahead. I already spoke in this meeting.
Oh, well, Heather, go ahead then.
I'll go second.
Okay.
Go ahead, Heather.
You don't need to do that, Matt. You're welcome to go first again. Okay, so first of all, I love it, and I know I mentioned this quickly, like when I watched the design subcommittee meeting, I love all the bringing in of nature and the color palette. I really like the various tones. And I should introduce this. I'm just going to give feedback. I feel like this is the time when we all need to give feedback and comments. So I'm just going to throw out some comments, positive and concerns and questions and everything. And I'm just going to throw them all down because I took a bunch of notes. So let's see. One thing on the river, I have to say, I love the river graphic on the floor. I think that's just fabulous. I feel like it really brings in Concord. I don't know, as I looked at it, I know it's a part of I think you said the Concord River. I didn't know if in how the layout of the building works, if it was possible to build in the confluence of the rivers, which is something very core to Concord, where the Assabet and Sudbury rivers come together at Egg Rock and become the Concord River. That would be a neat thing to see in there. So I know,
that would
looking
be
at
great.
maps, that would have to but that would be neat to see. And then even if we go far enough down the Concord River, if then the North Bridge and that field are a part of it, somehow lightly. I don't know. Anyway, just ideas. When I see the river, I can't help thinking all those Concord things. So really fun. And then in that same slide, those measurement lines. I love the concept of the measurement lines and using them in classes and all that. But I have to say, I'm a not a father. I'm a mother of boys as well as a girl, but a mother of boys. And I see things from their perspective sometimes. And I see a football field. And I see things being thrown to get a first down from one line to the next as people are walking in that space. So I just have to throw that out there in terms of, intent and impact, that the intent could be really nice measurement lines and the impact could be a football field once the middle school could get there.
They'd still be measuring, Heather, but
Right,
not what we intended.
So, football's great for measuring if you're getting to your first down. But anyway, just wanted to throw that out there in case that's a concern. Let's see.
The end conditions of that space are solid. So you know what?
There you go.
Go for it, right?
A touchdown.
There's no glass on either side, so go have fun.
Oh, Mr. Cameron's cringing, you guys.
I know. Sorry, Mr. Cameron. Let's see. I love in the auditorium space. I had a question there. First of all, I love the wood toned accents in the auditorium space. I just feel like it makes it really warm feeling and it's awesome. I had a question on the walls being white, and I don't dislike it. It looks really nice. I love the look of it. I was almost surprised though, because I feel like theater spaces are often slightly darker, and I think that has to do with, you know, the audience being in a darker space while the lights are on the stage. And I didn't know if white walls would make it harder for the theater group or theater experience. So I don't know. That's just a question to throw out there. Maybe no, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's showing it kind of with all of the house lights on, remembering that this is also it's also the chorus classroom, so making sure that there's ample light throughout the room. And that's feedback that we are working with the theater consultant we currently have on the project. We might knock that down a couple shades just so there's not bounced light from the theater performance. But generally, there's no concern with kind of lighter colors.
Okay, great. And then let's see. Oh, another one in the cafeteria. And I might have to look back again. For a while, we've had those kind of planks, the vertical planks as part of the ceiling. And I think in this one, they looked white, or some of them were white instead of the wood tones. And I was just wondering about that because I love the wood tones. And I thought having them as wood tones was a nice statement, and it stood out, and it was very warm feeling. And I just, the white just didn't impress me as much. So that's feedback on that. I love the wood tones. I think it's very warm for kids. I think that's all my comments.
Okay.
Others make some comments too, so I'm not the only one spewing all these thoughts.
Well, we'll let Matt go now. You go
Okay,
first.
I think just like Heather, I just have a whole litany of little comments here, and I don't expect to get responses on them. But the first one I actually do have a question, which is the cost estimate that we're pursuing now. I assume one of the objectives of that is to give us an understanding of the expected cost of doing something like that river image on the floor, or the interior screening approach, and the approach used for the theater. Or am I wrong? Is that still premature? I'm just, again, trying to understand what we're looking at here. There are a lot of good design concepts, but we don't know on the interior concepts, I guess, yet what kind of cost impact they might or might not have, what things might need to be on a list for value engineering opportunities, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so Matt, I would like to address that. I would say that in the schematic design estimate, at the level of schematic design for that estimate, we defined the parameters for the use of interior materials and what the intention was, and roughly the extent of those materials relative to the area of application. So for instance, we had X amount of wood look metal ceiling panels in the schematic design. As part of the schematic design reconciliation, we agreed that we were going to reduce that by some certain percentage. Don't hold me to it, but I think it was nominally 30%. So what we did, this design development submission makes that 30% reduction in the area of those panels. It simultaneously advances, the kind of definition of how those materials might be applied. Relative to the flooring materials, we had agreed that it would be linoleum in those areas, and now we're kind of defining a little bit more the application of color. The same is true for, the extent of cabinetry and millwork throughout the process. At the schematic design phase, we did identify that the wall panels in the auditorium would be millwork. Now we're defining a little bit more the extent, how big they are, what the profile is, what the material is. And so those assumptions in schematic design are built upon and clarified at this point. But you're absolutely correct that the cost estimators now have a bit more definition to the application and type of those materials. There will be some feedback. We'll have an opportunity to analyze the cost. Because the design is more advanced, the cost feedback can be similarly more advanced, right? Then I would also say the whole environment of hyperinflation that we're in, that's extraordinary, right? And so we're going to have to figure out what we're going to see some of that, I'm sure, and the extent to which it shows itself you know, everybody is grappling with that in the design and construction industry. And actually, I think in every commercial sector right now. So I hope those answered the questions relative to the specifics of the design and also the kind of economic environment that we're in. And if I didn't answer them correctly or get to your question, I'm happy to answer a follow-up or dialogue.
Well, I guess I'm just curious, like, okay, a linoleum floor costs this much per square foot, but if you're going to piece it in the shape of the Concord River confluence,
yes,
It's just
it might
a water
cost
jet.
a little more. It
Yeah,
might
it's
cost
just
a
a
little more.
water jet cut and it's not substantially more.
Okay,
It's
well,
a-
that's great to know.
Yeah.
I was just using that as a for instance.
Yeah.
Also, Matt, I would say that in every aspect of the project, we stuck to the quantities and definition of the estimate of the cost model. And in some places, for instance, in the auditorium, we're mindful of the issue. So where we had wood panels before, right now what you're seeing is a gypsum wall sort of elements. So in every aspect of the project, we stuck to the estimate and we actually reduced as much as we can. For instance, in the exterior of the envelope, we had more brick and less polished face CMU. We've added more CMU. So I think we've been mindful of some of these things. So we're trying to better, if not stick to the cost model.
Okay, thanks. So just the other comments, again, I don't need responses on these. It seems to me like the retaining wall that's below the patio, the cafeteria could be as much as 12, 15 feet tall. And I don't know whether that's okay. I just was curious about it. The second is there's a large blank wall now that I think, as you pointed out, that faces the tunnel. And it looks like there's some opportunity there for either a decorative element, a vertical garden. I don't know, maybe that could be done post-construction, but it is a very large blank space right now. And interesting, but mostly interesting for potential. To me, it seems like on the facade, the dark CMU is awfully dark, but that's just a personal feeling. I shared Heather's impression that the white walls in the amphitheater were really distracting. And then finally, there's a lot of design thought in the common spaces, but the strangest thing was when you get to the classrooms, other than the windows themselves, it seems very generic. And it's just as if there's very little design element, put in there versus the rest of the spaces so far. Maybe I'm missing something, but those are the spaces where the students will be spending the most time. And I just was curious about that.
Keith? Yeah.
Thank you, Matt. Any?
I mean, I don't know, Saul. I don't know that Matt has said that he just offered those comments. I don't know if a response is required to that, but relative to the classrooms, I think it's a valid observation, Matt. We have been working with the educational team. I will also say at this point in the project, there is opportunity to address that, refine it, advance it. Our discussions thus far with the educational team is that they're looking for a pretty flexible teaching environment that relies upon portable electronic devices to share information, as well as writing boards and tackable surfaces in order to kind of reinforce the use of that technology. I think we have responded to the feedback from the educational team, but again, I would say that as we move forward, if that is a concern that is shared by the team, we could make some adjustments, but we haven't heard that comment yet. And I don't even know if Lori and Justin would want to make a comment in regard to that, but
I mean, I have one more comment about that. It's interesting, Matt. One of the things that happens in the classroom is also the furniture, the people, and the things that will go on the teaching wall. I mean, that hasn't been defined. So, and two of the partitions are actually, two of the sides of the room are actually movable partitions. So there's a limit in terms of what you can do. We tried to incorporate some interest in the ceilings themselves. But I think in the classrooms, we have to be particularly cautious. One of the things that I mentioned earlier about the metaphor of the stream is that there's an intensity of sort of events happening there, but then there's a simplicity in the wooded area around it. And because a single move in a classroom multiplies by, 30 or something times, we have to keep the complexity relatively minimal there because of the number of sort of times that it actually happens in. So because of the future elements that will be added to it, not to including people and all of those issues, we prefer to keep those relatively simple. And I think that's a trend industry-wide in terms of how you treat the classrooms.
Thank you, Saul. I just want to move this along because Matt did say, I agree with what you're saying. I just want to recognize that it's 8:47 and I know I have to leave. Does anyone else have any other design comments for the team? And I don't want to cut this short. Hey, Peter. But so I may have to ask someone to take over when I need to leave in 7 minutes. Go ahead.
Real quickly, I just had a couple of comments. One is I'm glad to hear the lockers are still being addressed because I do have a concern about them being so low. Another thought I had was just as I was looking at the design, if there was torrential rains, what would happen to the area under the bridge? Is there good drainage? I could just see that becoming very slippery and washed out if it's not drained properly. So just a comment. And then I agree with Matt that the sides seemed to use darker material than I remember. I thought it had a little bit lighter facades. So just those comments. That's it.
Thank you, Peter. Anyone else? I think this is some good feedback for the designers and food for thought. And just to pick up on quickly Matt's question about cost and where we're at, I just want to remind everyone that the design development set, you got a link to those documents that were shared, went out last Friday per our schedule. Our next meeting will address the cost estimate and we'll talk about the reconciled number and where we're at. Just recognize this is volatile, a volatile time. And I think our designers have a plan for us to make decisions based on this estimate, next estimate. We'll get 2 further estimates before it goes out to bid at 60% CDs as well as 90. So just a reminder, that's where we're at as far as cost and schedule. I didn't see communication or new business, but I do want to open it up to that. I don't know if you have things you want to update on, Heather.
Yeah, I can just mention really quickly, there were 2, but since the last actual meeting, not last week, there were 2 emails from the public, one referencing wiring the building, again, asking us to do that. And the second, just looking for a contact. So looking for somebody to be in touch. It was someone from the West Concord Advisory Committee.
And I would just add that we received a question yesterday regarding the ability to record and or broadcast from Minuteman Media Network from within the building. So we'll have our designers take a look at where we're at with that capability. And I just want to read one quick communication that Pat sent around from Carrie LaFleur on 5/24. The town received bids on the 2022 general obligation bond issue, which included 12 million for the Concord Middle School project. 11 bids were received, and the winning bid came from Morgan Stanley and Company LLC. Our financial advisor was astonished at the level of interest in our bond issue. We will issue the news release below tomorrow, which would have been a couple of weeks ago now, or last week, and have official acceptance of the bond issue scheduled for the June 6th select board meeting. So that's great news for those that hadn't heard about that excellent news on the bonding. So does anyone else have any communication or new business?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that the Finance Committee has appointed a new observer in
Thank you.
place of Dean Banfield, and it's Suresh Bhatia, who I saw earlier on this call.
He's on.
He could perhaps just introduce himself with a sentence or two. His job during the day is construction management of schools.
I heard this great news, so please, can you say your name so I'm sure to say it correctly and introduce yourself, say hello? We're happy to have you. I think you're muted.
Thank you, Dawn. My name is Suresh Bhatia. It's just the way it's written, Suresh Bhatia. And yes, I have some of the people might have seen me or known me from the past, and I see quite a few familiar faces here. So I've been around town almost 27 plus years now, and I do construction management as a full-time profession for myself.
Excellent. We're happy to have you, Suresh, and definitely value your experience. So we look forward to your participation and feedback.
Thank you.
Yeah, happy to have you. Thanks. Great. Any public comment? Oh, sorry, Charlie.
What about the update on the sustainability piece? That's before public comments, I think.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to jump over that. Jen, I don't know if
Yeah,
that was something you guys were planning to.
There's no update other than, I mean, the last time we met was May 9th, I believe, and we're trying to schedule a follow-up meeting the week of the 13th. And
Yeah,
then we'll have an
sorry.
update after that.
I saw emails going around about that. It's the last week of school, so it might be difficult, but we'll try and get that next meeting scheduled. And from what Lorraine had said, it sounds like you're running additional energy models or something. So we may have new data to talk about. So
yes.
Yeah, there are, this is Charlie, there are 5 or 6 items that we need to cover. And we ought to be careful that we get a good agenda put together for that meeting. You know, I made my suggestions to Matt. I think Matt has some items, and I think that it would be really great to see us get documentation, basically, that is not as necessarily as complete as what the design committee did, but we need to get from conversations and discussions over questions to a point where we have some actual stake in the ground material on what we're doing with sustainability. And I think this would be kind of a good time to try to start committing this stuff to presentation material.
Okay.
Just my sense.
okay, so we'll get that planned and ask the design team to put that forward in presentation. If you have additional thoughts, just send them through Matt to the designers.
Yep,
please.
yep.
Okay, thank you. All right, public comment. Carlin Reed, I see your hand. Hello, tell us who you are, where you live, and please make your comment.
Thank you, Carlin Reed, 83 Wits End. Don, you covered my comment briefly, but I was just highlighting for the rest of the group on slides 38 and 39. Bill, when you were doing your presentation, I could not visualize where the stand-up video cameras would be placed so that they could actually record what's being presented in the auditorium on the stage. So thinking about the visuals, talk to your theater consultant, but also talk to Mark Pauley, who's the MMN station manager, the production manager, for advice. Because the last thing I'd like to see is that this middle school be built without being able to record. And I'm saying this in the context of my position as the chair of the PEG Access Advisory Committee, the citizen group that sort of watches out for this sort of stuff. Thanks, that's it.
Thank you, Carlin. Any other public comments today? No? Okay. Can someone remind us when our next meeting is? I think it got moved.
The 30th?
It's the
June
30th.
30th.
I believe the
June 30th. Okay.
Thursday, yep, Thursday the 30th.
Thursday the 30th at 7:30. If that's everything, then we did it, guys. We finished before 9. Yay. I would look for a motion to adjourn.
You can just adjourn the meeting, John.
Oh, sorry.
What's that, Matt?
As chair, you can just adjourn
I
the
can
meeting if there's no further business.
All right, no further business. Or Chris could make a motion because it sounded like he really wanted to. Thank you.
Whatever.
All right. So then do I need a second? I have to vote on ending, no?
No.
Can I
no.
just leave?
I talked
All
to
right.
the town clerk. You don't have to. You can just say.
That's how my other
"No."
meeting is. Once we lose.
Your
quorum,
prerogative
we
as
just
chair.
go done. All right, awesome. Well, that saves me reading everyone's names. It was nice to see everyone today. Thank you so much for the presentations and your time and your feedback, everyone.
All right, thanks.
Thank
Bye.
See you
so
on the
much.
30th.
Go Celts.